two, one. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting film journey here on Inside Movies Galore. I am one of your hosts, and tonight we are going to be going on about a movie that was brought to us in a choice by my fiance Tammy. So, Tammy, why don't you tell us a little bit about the movie that we went and watched and have come on about?
The movie is called Unbreakable. It's a 2000. It's one of M. Night. I can never say his name right.
Shymalman.
Never listen to Dave. It's Shymalman.
Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan. Okay.
Shyamalan, ding dong.
I just know I like his stuff.
Even though many people believe he is a hack.
He's fucking awesome. Anybody thinks he's a hack is a hack.
Anyways, he's not only the director, but some of the people that are in it are Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, Robin Wright,
Robin Wright
Spencer
Penn at
Clark.
the time.
That's just to name a few. Yeah, let's see. This lovely IMDb has a very liner about it. A man learns something extraordinary about himself after a devastating accident. Boy, that sure tells a lot about the movie.
Dumbass. Was that IMDb?
Yes.
Yeah,
Of
but it's
course.
vague.
They always do. I mean, dude, even when they explain more, sometimes they just completely get it wrong, too. Well, the problem with Wiki's usually right, but they go on and tell you, like, the whole movie. Wiki overdoes it, and IMDb just sucks. I like IMDb only if I want to know the cast, because they're good at telling you the cast, like everybody, not just the main characters.
I would say more or less, what if in real life you had real life comic book hero and villain? You know?
Yeah. That's way more.
Kind of what this movie throws out.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so Bruce Willis basically never gets hurt. He survives these miraculous things, and he just thinks it's like some kind of luck or something, and and this guy who believes he's I don't want to say villain because that kind of gives the
although this one's a little different because it's the villain that actually
but what I'm saying is you don't know he's the villain until you watch the movie. Like he doesn't let on that he's the villain. Like you see, like he's like the Alfred to Batman, or like there's someone guiding the hero, and then you find out that oh shit, he's actually the villain, and it was a great fucking twist when you watch it the first time. But M. Night Shyamalan is good for doing movies with twists, right? And honestly, Bruce Willis doesn't think he's a hack since he's done 4 movies with him at least, maybe more. I don't know.
Alrighty, so now that we have a proper explanation of the movie, why don't we get into first impressions? Jake, would you like to go first?
First impressions of this one?
Yes.
All right. So, this is not my first time seeing Unbreakable. I saw it, I want to say not long after its release. I can't remember for sure, but it was a while ago. Probably within a couple of years at least, I saw it the first time. And I know I've seen it since then, but if I had to guess, this was probably a third or fourth viewing. I have, of course, also seen the uh, kind of sort of sequel,
Glass.
Glass, and the movie that preceded Glass and kind of set the scene for them to be in the same group, which was Split. And one thing that I will say about Unbreakable and Split,
That was actually a trilogy, dude.
what?
It was a trilogy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But Glass could be seen as a sequel to this, whereas Split was its own thing, and they were tied together by Glass. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it was a thing, but it was the ending trilogy as well.
Yes, you can talk on your turn. But anyway, I will say my first impression when you said we were doing Unbreakable was, oh, Tammy wants revenge for Gosford Park.
What?
Because I will say this. I am not as harsh on M. Night Shyamalan as some people are. Granted, I have never seen The Happening, and I've never seen Avatar, his Avatar. So I haven't seen what supposedly is the bottom barrel. I like The Sixth Sense a lot. I like Old. But I will say that his best films probably are Unbreakable and Split. Glass had issues. But the weird thing is, Glass was the only one of the three that didn't have one particular issue, which is pacing. Unbreakable is like watching paint dry. It is one of the slowest, most tedious to watch films I've ever seen. With Split, the issue was more, it was unevenly paced, but still. That being said, it's an interesting film. It's very interestingly shot. It's a great concept. Bruce Willis does a fine job, and Sam Jackson does a great job. It's an interesting film, but my God, does it feel an hour longer than it actually is? And so that's one of the reasons I haven't watched it more. And now Shyamalan is famous for his twist endings, and I will say that Unbreakable has probably one of the stronger twist endings because even though it really does completely change the final 10 minutes of the movie, it's one that when you go back and watch it, you see the signs. Like, it's not out of left field. It is definitely telegraphed that this could be a potential outcome of the film. Just the way that it was done, the first time you see it, you're like, holy shit, they went there? And I like that. I like the ending. I think it's a great ending. And I like that I got a chance to watch my unwatched copy. So that's pretty cool. So overall, again, it's a good film. It could have been a great film. Never going to be a favorite of mine, but I kind of do hope we eventually get to watch the other two in this trilogy. I think they would be fun to talk about, but yeah.
Okay. Is that it then?
Yeah, I'll do for now.
Okay. Let's go over to Carl.
Um, Thanks for muting.
Oh, shit.
Will you stop muting me?
I was trying to unmute you.
I can do it myself.
Okay.
Thanks. Anywho, yeah, this would have been my third time watching it if I had remembered to watch it, but I did not. So, yeah. I do love the movie, so I definitely can give an opinion on it. As you notice, I've already talked a little bit in one of those people's turns. Sorry, but anywho, yeah, I love the movie. I think it's great. I don't think the pacing's bad at all, and it's certainly not the worst movie I've ever seen. And we won't go into that, will we, Jacob?
Say what?
I say we won't go into what I feel like is the worst movie pacing wise ever. And it wasn't Gone Park. That movie was not that bad. But yeah, I think this is way better than Gone Park, but still. Except all the movie. It's a superhero movie that isn't, if you know what I mean. And I too love the twist. Yeah, I mean, I guess yeah. The first time I didn't see it, so it felt out of left field until you see it the second time. But yeah, the first time I don't know, you just kind of miss it. I guess kind of like I see dead people, same thing, the signs are there. I mean, I figured, no, I never did figure that out. Yeah, yeah. But once you watch it the second time, you're like, yeah, it's kind of obvious. But you've already seen it, so yeah. And Night Shyamalan, he's good with those. And also, since you brought up Glass, I'm gonna say my opinion. I love Glass. I thought it was great, and Split. I actually did not know that Glass even existed. I loved Unbreakable, and then when Split came out, I looked at it and I'm like, wait, third movie? The hell was the second? And I looked back and found Glass. And, oh my god! So I went and I watched both movies back to back. So it was kind of a happy thing. I got to see the second and third together because I was working a lot, so I had never even noticed that there was a second movie for Unbreakable. It's definitely not your typical trilogy where if you watch the first and third, I don't think you're gonna really miss a ton. That's in the second one, even though I really enjoy the second. It's just each one kinda can be by themselves and they fit together. I think that's my opinion on it. So, but each to their own. Anyways, I really enjoyed it, and Bruce Willis, of course, he's phenomenal. And Samuel L. Jackson, he's Samuel L. Jackson. Oh fuck. He's a badass motherfucker. He's in wheelchair. No matter, Samuel L. Jackson always brings it. Always a phenomenal performance. He's sitting in a wheelchair the whole movie. And just about, and he still brings it. It doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, he's a good action hero at times, but he doesn't need to be an action hero to be an awesome freaking actor. I mean, he made Marvel change the comics to his face when he played Nick Fury, and that's some shit. I mean, he didn't tell him to do it. They just decided that he did such an awesome job that they wanted to. So, anyways, yeah, I love the movie. That's my opinion, my impressions of the movie the two times I saw it. And I probably seen a third.
Alrighty. Dave?
Yeah. So this is not my first time watching this movie. I definitely got into M Night's
Shymalman.
films. M Night's films. I know what his last name is, but a lot of us abbreviate his name so that we don't have to like kill it.
No, it's because you can't say
Uh,
it.
Regardless, The Sixth Sense. It's a great movie, but once you know the end of it, then it like kind of ruins it for like a repeat watch. But I still enjoy watching it. As far as Unbreakable goes, I really liked this movie. I didn't have a problem with the pacing. Maybe it was a little slow, but I got and understood why because he well, number one, this is his second film. I think he was trying to slow it down a pace, and I think that oftentimes when the general population of the film media loves a snail's pace film. The creme de la creme of society in film culture loves to pour the shit out of you. And I'm sorry, they do. The slower, according to filmmakers, the better. And I'm not exactly in that opinion because just
I'm not.
because it's slower doesn't make it better. But
Definitely not.
I do enjoy the pacing of this film, and I do think that the reveal is cool. And I think it definitely puts a different spin on the comic book look of things. I don't really think you get a whole lot of African Americans who are versed in comic history. So at least as far as I've seen in films, except for maybe in Stephen King's It, because you've got his librarian that's going on there. But that being said, I do enjoy Samuel L. Jackson in most everything that he does. I think that he is a phenomenal actor, and there's definitely something about his hair. Definitely something about his hair in this movie. It is just off kilter enough to make his character believable. So, other than that, I enjoy the film and thought it was a film that was worthy of Bruce Willis's. So, I mean, not only can he not die in Die Hard, he definitely can't die in here. So, in any case, how about you, Tammy?
Okay. Well, I know it was not my first time. I honestly don't know when it was my first time. All I know is after I watched it the first time, I had to have like right up my alley about how things that the unexpected mystery type of thing. I like the where is this going? Because you get that in this. You're wondering why this guy is so you know intrigued with the other, and you don't realize it until later on, but it keeps you guessing as to why. So and a lot of other movies by M. Night anyways. I didn't really, but I did like Split, and I did like Glass. I liked Sixth Sense. What were the I'm trying to think of the names of the. I can picture the now of the other ones that I know I like. And that I have on my. Um, yeah, I mean I like his stuff, and I guess so. We'll go from here now, unless somebody else has something to add before we get into the storyline.
I think we're probably good to start. I guess if
Oh,
Kroll comes back.
well, hopefully you can get back up and running. Oh, there it is.
All right.
Okay, so we're going into the plot, right?
The plot starts out, with Bruce Willis's character. He's on a train. He, he seems kind of lonely on the train. He, starts talking to this lady, and she's telling him why she's on the train. That she's, into sports. It looks like she's an agent, and we didn't know. We don't know at the time that why he's kind of like saying that he's not into sports. We find out later, and
Well, yeah, and he takes off his wedding ring.
right, I was getting
Yeah,
to
as
that,
soon as he sees her.
and then she says how long she's going to be in Philadelphia. Politely says that she's married, and decides that she is going to move to another city because she feels that he is hitting on her, and so. And the next thing, watching the TV, and you see that he's watching a few things. That there's a train derailment, and at this post-it note, and it is what train he's on, which is the one that's on TV. And he lets his mother know, and then we're at the hospital, and we're seeing, waiting to hear about their loved ones. And there's somebody else in another room that you don't actually see, but they're working on. And when the doctor comes to talk to him, he gives him the 20 question thing, and he can't understand why he's asking him all these questions. And it's because um, everybody else was hurt or already passed away. That was
Well, and the only other survivor that was still alive was like all broken up or something, had something wrong with him.
Yeah, basically at one point, Willis's character, David, looks at him and he's like, basically like, why are you looking at me like that? Like, or what have you? And he's like, well, for two reasons. He's like, in a couple of minutes, and he kind of glances at the guy in the other room. He's like, you're going to be the only survivor in this accident. And second, you don't have a scratch on you. It's like, you're not only alive, you are unhurt. And it's like, yeah, anyone would look at someone weird in that situation. But yeah. Which I remember. I remember that was a big part of the trailer, and it was a pretty good hook for the movie to kind of like get people to get a rough idea of what you're getting into. It's kind of fun.
right. And then, did anybody else think that this this is like right, right at the beginning of the movie, that this is a little bit strange that he's going to end up
Not
being the
only
sole
is it
survivor.
strange,
Right.
but it's rare. It's rare that you ever have a accident where that is that huge, where only one person survives. Normally, it's like shit like this happens, they all die. You know, no one fucking survived. Um, but
Right.
like in plane disasters or train disasters, there's rarely anyone that survives those. Now, vehicle accidents are a different story. One or two people can survive those, or it's all a matter of probability.
Unfortunately, when it comes to vehicle accidents, a lot of times it's the person that caused the accident is the one that survived.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's drunk or somebody that's driving pussy or some red light. Unfortunately, it seems like it's the bad people that end up surviving car accidents, and it's the innocents that end up, passing away from them, and that's just so unfortunate. But it seems like that's kind of how it goes. I mean, we've seen the news plenty of times that are just totally how it ran away. Well, what? You're looking at this car that's totally mangled, and they're telling you that the driver that caused the accident got out of this totally mangled car and ran away.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the people in this car passed away. You know, it's just
Right.
really uncanny. So, but moving on, we do see him it's David, isn't it? Correct?
Yeah,
David Dunn. Nice alliterative comic books name.
He comes out of the room, the examination room, and his wife and son are there to meet him, and of course the son is the wife being happy he is alive, but not jumping for joy and all over him, but happy he is alive. You know,
Right.
yeah, because evidently they've kind of been separated from each other. In fact, he was actually planning on moving to New York. He even had several jobs lined up, or that he was waiting to hear back from.
Well, I believe the the train was returning from New York, was it not? That he was
Yeah, I believe
back from
so.
that trip?
On the other side of the spectrum, we get another storyline.
Right.
Correct,
right,
Tim?
right. What did you want to explain that one? You can go right ahead if you'd like.
Sure. I believe the first bits that we have is we have a moment, and it looks like this is also happening in a train. The birthing of a young black child.
I think
No, it
it's a
was in the back
department
of a
store.
store. Yeah,
You think it was what?
in the back of a store. Yeah.
Okay, in the back of a store. It looked like it was like in a train cart or a train car or something like that. But anyways, apparently a child was born, and there were two police officers standing by while a doctor was showing up at this area. And as soon as he opens up the swaddling clothes that the child is in, um, he realizes that every bone in that child's body has been broken. And in fact, he said it in a way that made you concerned because he was like, "Did you drop this baby?" You know?
I don't think he said every bone, but I think he said that both arms and both legs were broken all to hell, basically. That they were there was definitely a lot of breakage. And yes, he kind of accusingly asked the shopkeepers, "Did y'all do this?" And they were like, "No, yeah." That would be an awkward situation to be in if something like that happened in your place of business. But
And I'm not sure if this next segment happened directly afterwards, but I guess we get another segment when this character is actually a somewhat of a teenager, where his mom actually told him, "Hey, I've got a gift for you, but here's the thing: it's across the street on that park bench, and it is up to you if you want it to go out and get it. But you know, but somebody's gonna get it. Well, I guess if you really want it, you're gonna have to go and get it yourself." And I think it was because of his condition. He really was in that mindset that he didn't want to go out into the world, deal with his problems, and be seen like that. Well, his mom basically, I believe it was her help and guidance to try to get him out of his reverie, and it got him interested in comics. So, what do y'all think of that? The story so far. What do y'all think about the plot so far?
Well, the mother was, she found something that he liked, and that she figured that was how she was going to get him to quit dwelling on his misgivings, and to focus, and not to listen to these other kids that were calling him Glass, I believe is what the name, Mr. Glass. That's what the kids, because they broken bones. So, and as far as Dave goes, I think he's very confused. He's happy to be happy to. I think he's confused. Alive is what you're getting. So, Mr. Winter. So, let's see. I think we're about to the part where we, I guess, want to call him Mr. Glass.
Well, yeah, Mr. Price, yeah. I don't think he has adopted the Glass persona yet.
No, because that reminds him of what the kids called him,
Right.
Correct.
But when thing we see is it seems to me it looks like a store, but it's actually more of like an art exhibit.
Well, it's a gallery. Yeah.
Yeah. And
comic books.
Mm-hmm.
I guess things are quiet on the home front on the Guns family, where you have the mother who doesn't seem to really talk to him all that much. Kind of let him be, because he had just been through this traumatic experience, and I'm not even sure what the son thinks right now, but I do remember seeing the son as the little the little kid who was in Gladiator.
Oh, is that the same kid?
I believe.
Huh. I think he might
Yeah,
be.
that's the same kid.
Huh.
The one that kept bothering Maximus while he was in prison. But yeah. So we do have a little bit of estrangement going on, but I do believe that we kind of skated over it a little bit, with the train thing. He actually came off kind of creepy towards the woman, yeah, but he ended up showing up at the funeral, and after the funeral, there was a note on his vehicle that asked him a question that kind of reminded me of a existential book on philosophy that I read at one point in time called Sophie's Choice. You know, which I wonder if M. Night had actually read that book, because it asks him a specific question to think about. You know, has he ever been really sick?
Yeah. And it does make him wonder. I think that night in bed, like I think he asked his wife, have I ever been sick? Yeah.
Well, yeah, he starts asking around. Like, in fact, the first person that he asks is actually at his work, because he goes into, into the office and says, "Have I ever taken a sick day?" And then at the end of the day, his boss comes in and is like, "Okay, fine. You have you're starting now. You're gonna get $40 an hour or something like that. You got a raise. That's an interesting way to shake me down. That you've never been sick in the 4 years that you've worked here." It's like he didn't even expect that,
Right. Now, actually, you kind of went back to the setup of the scene that Tammy brought up, and then we immediately left. But I want to mention, so that note did have the letterhead for this store, limited edition, and so he went in, after having inquired of these people, and it got him curious, made him wonder. So he went in to the gallery, and but before that, we're introduced to Price at the gallery where he's talking to a potential customer. And this was, I think, I need to go back because IMDb said something that I wasn't paying attention when I watched the movie. So maybe you guys did notice this, but next time I go back and watch it, hopefully I'll remember to look. But up until this point, I believe Elijah has only been shown in reflection. And I think this was the first time he was actually shown in front of the camera. I could be remembering that wrong or have read that wrong, but basically it's an interesting idea that his first couple of times, definitely the burst scene, he's shown in reflection mostly. Maybe not the only viewing, but mostly, you know what I mean? But anyway, so he's talking to this guy, and he's introduced.
And he brought his son in with him too. So,
right? No, I'm not talking about that yet. I'm talking about the first scene in the gallery, because I think that is kind of important for setting up.
Yeah, but his son is with him in that first scene in the gallery.
No,
we're not talking about that.
We're talking when when we're introduced to Price as an adult.
Okay.
Yes, and he's talking to this potential customer.
Gotcha.
And he's describing this. It's like I guess it's a draft of a comic, like a draft of one of the pictures that would be printed later. That was my impression.
Okay, yeah.
And it's he's talking about, this is from Fritz Campion's own library and whatever. And the guy's just like, well, wrap it up. He's all excited, and he's like, you've made a considerably wise decision. My kid's going to go berserk. And then this is where it turns rapidly. My son, Jeb, it's a gift for him. How old is Jeb. Well, he's 4. And it's like, no. He's like, do you see any Teletubbies in here? Do you see a slender plastic clip to my shirt with my name printed on it? It's like, no, that's what you see at a toy store. And you must think you're in a toy store because you're here shopping for an infant named Jeb. Now, one of us has made a gross error and wasted the other person's valuable time. This is an art gallery, my friend, and this is a piece of art. And I just, for one, that's like vintage Sam Jackson, even though he's delivering it much more quietly and without his usual bluster. That is a great Sam Jackson rant.
Yes.
But it really does show that to him, comics are this big, grandiose thing. He does not see them the way most of the world sees them. And that scene really sets it up as this is something to him that, you know, and now granted, I kind of agree with him here. What kind of moron buys a first edition piece of something like that for a kid? You know,
I agree.
you would buy him a comic, not the draft that came before the comic.
I guess it would depend on the child.
Yeah.
Like if he had not just like started him out in comic books,
Yeah.
like you don't just buy like the most limited edition thing out there.
Yeah.
In order to get them started, you buy them a comic.
But
you
again,
know,
if the kid's 4, is he even, or like if he's 4, he might be reading, let me think here.
See Spot Run.
Yeah, maybe nothing more. I was trying to think what actually are the kids' comics we have at the library, but most of those, like, let's look at comic books. The kid graphic novels for, say, Hulk or Iron Man or X-Men or whatever, those probably are for like a 7 or 8-year-old. They're not for a 4-year-old. And so it's like, I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool that you think your kid, you must think highly of your kid and props to you, but really? But anyway, like I said, I do like that scene because I think that's a really good one for showing us who Price is, what he thinks about comics, the way that he doesn't suffer fools, even though much of the world would probably see him as one. He just kind of returns the favor, I guess you could say.
So, Kroll, you got anything to say about it so far?
Kroll, are you here?
I just unmuted. Yeah, it's a great movie. Yeah, I mean, I guess I agree that you know, you don't want to sell, like, I mean, if the kid was a little older and maybe showed maturity, I could see it, you know, but I mean, he was just a little kid, and obviously the parent was just a rich asshole that wanted to get him whatever, and he didn't really care what he got him, and he didn't care if the kid just grabbed it and played, you know, read it a little bit and then ripped it apart. Like, he didn't give a shit. And, you know, and Glass, or, you know, whatever, he it meant something to him. And, you know, yeah, he's selling it to stuff, but he's not going to sell it to anyone, you know. And I can understand it, you know. I mean, maybe when I was a little younger, like, might not get it, but yeah, I totally get it. I mean, yeah, something that you love so much, you want it to have a good home, even if it's not your home anymore. You still want it to have. I know it's a possession, but still, possessions can mean a lot to people. You know, I know if it was like Star Wars toys that I had to get rid of and sell, I'd be the same way. You know, So,
Right. You
yeah,
don't want this guy that's just because he's got the money, take it home and
yeah, exactly.
it's like
Take your money and
Yeah,
trust it.
a picture in
like
the room.
let's say the sketch in question was concept art for Jabba the Hutt, and like the original sketch. And to
Yeah,
be like, would you want some asshole getting that for his kid?
that's what I'm saying. No, of course not. Just like fuck no. It's like the hell, dude. Seriously. I mean, I don't even care if something like that wasn't worth a lot of money. Of course, it would be because it's Star Wars. But even for some reason it wasn't, it would be like huge sentimental. Like even if it's not even about money or anything, it's about it's gonna go to a good home. Someone who's gonna treasure it as much as I did, or cherish it as much as I did. It's gonna go up on the wall, framed and shit, not given to a little kid. Be the manhandled and ripped open and shit. Except he was older and showed maturity and stuff, and he could actually handle it. Okay, I'm not gonna be like an ageist where, oh no, kids can't have something nice or whatever. I mean, you know, yeah, and the father would not have to be like a rich asshole too. Yeah, again, it's just because I'd like want to press upon how I feel about it and how I want and they didn't mess with that, and I wanted to sell it to him. It's not always about sales.
Okay, so we're kind of touching on Price is all about what he's about right now. We got just a little bit of a glimpse, you know. And meanwhile, on the other end, David is starting to question things. How did not even a scratch? And then he goes and after he knows him, and um, Bryce is giving him this whole spiel about some people are this way and some people are that way, and two ends, two ones this, you know, that way, and say David that you're the end that, and I'm the end that's you know the, and then David's really having this doesn't really he gets a bad, so tells his son go drink on that water, go exactly what do you think, and you know he doesn't want to be as he thinks he's accident is in, and he's hinting that he wasn't actually hurt in this accident that ended his football career, and and that gets David thinking. So, but he
Well, that comes definitely later, but he does have a meeting with him with his son there, and he basically
that's what I've just been
makes
talking
his
about.
son think that he's like this superhero, you know.
Right, but okay. So they leave, and it makes David start thinking about this accident that happened, and I don't know why we. I don't. One part I don't understand is I don't know why he did go in that closet and look at the gun. I understand him looking at the newspaper clippings of when he was playing, I believe,
supposedly,
football and
supposedly it was intentional
I don't understand
misdirection.
what the gun had.
Supposedly it was intentional misdirection from Shyamalan. Uh, IMDb calls it the Chekhov's gun principle, but I can't remember if that's what we were told in creative writing class, but we were told the principle. And I know Roger Ebert liked to harp on it too. It's basically the principle of if you plant a weapon like a gun, you damn well better use it. And they didn't really, or they did in a very weird and unexpected way. Uh, and that was,
Very
again,
yes.
supposedly it was Shyamalan screwing with the audience, but yeah.
Basically showing that he had a gun, and then
Yeah.
his son had figured out where the gun and the bullets were.
Yes, and that was kind of amusing when he's like, "Oh, well, I never keep it loaded." Oh, well, I know where they are. And that did give me my favorite line in the movie where there's that tense confrontation. The son is Joseph is got the gun pointed at his dad. The idea is like, well, if I shoot him, he'll be fine. And then he's like, friends listen to each other. He was talking about they were friends now. Friends listen to each other and they don't shoot each other, do they, Audrey? And Audrey's like, no shooting friends, Joseph. I'm like, I love that she had to tell her son not to shoot people, to shoot his friends. I'm like, that's weird but amusing. But supposedly, and I was intrigued by this, supposedly, according to IMDb, that scene was loosely based on a real event that took place with George Reeves, the TV Superman. And supposedly, a youngster pointed a gun at him and was going to shoot him because he's Superman. He could take it. And supposedly, Reeves talked him down by saying, yes, but the bullets will ricochet off and they could hit someone else. It's like, that's a good way to play into your audience there. But
Okay.
Yeah, that was that scene with the kid with the gun. That was definitely
yeah.
a very. I remember watching it the first time, and it was just like, whoa.
Yeah, you
Where
don't
did that
expect the
come
kid to
from?
pull the gun.
No, not at all.
But
Anybody else have anything to say about that?
Glass ends up showing up at his place of work too. And this is where he first learns of Bruce Willis or of David Gunn's talent, because evidently there was a guy in a military jacket that supposedly he saw a flash of a gun and just knew that he was trouble. So he went to his security guard and told them to start patting down people coming in. And he was definitely sure that the dude had a gun, silver with a black grip on it. And Glass, while he was outside, like after the game, he saw this dude and started to follow him. And he fell down some stairs, broke his bones again. But as he lay there, he saw the guy jump over the train
Turnstile.
stiles and saw the gun, and
Yeah.
that's when he started to fully believe that David was in fact who he thought he was.
Well, earlier when they were standing next to the line and watching them go through, David had said, "This guy, he won't want to get frisked. If he's carrying, he'll break and leave the line." And sure enough, after just a couple minutes, you saw him getting a little bit nervous, and that's exactly what he did. He left the line and walked away quickly. And so, at the very least, he proved right there that he had a bit of a talent for reading people and for human behavior. But yeah, he didn't really let on what his actual, I guess you could say, power was.
Okay, Tammy.
Okay, so let's see, where are we at now? So you see is that, and he falls, he gets hurt, and during this
I think
time, him and his wife decide that they're gonna give their relationship a shot. They're gonna start over,
yeah. In fact,
and
she
because
actually
she
comes to
says
him
to him, you're
and
right, and
asks
she
him
says
point
that
blank,
she
like, has
realizes.
he? Go
Has
ahead.
he been with anybody else? He says no.
Yeah,
And she says that she feels that this was a sign by him surviving this crash. It was a second chance. So she believes that they need the second chance.
I think that
So
it also all these questions going around in his head makes him wonder about why he was with his wife to begin with. Because of this whole car accident that happened, like that supposedly he was injured in too. Um, but I think this is when Mr. Glass or Mr. Price, whichever you want to call him, um, he actually goes and sees the wife because the wife actually does physical therapy. And I'm wondering if he actually specifically asked for her, in this whole process, knowing that she is who she is. And you said something while he was talking to her, and she was starting to open up, but then he mentioned something.
he mentioned the car accident.
No, no,
He mentioned David by name. That was the thing that really, she was like, how did you know? Yeah.
that's what I was looking for. But yes, that's kind of what starts the whole thing. And she goes back home, um, mentions that she met him and she listened to his theory. And I think it's that evening that the son actually, the son actually ends up getting in trouble. Did you want to talk about that, Tammy?
Well, yeah, he ends up in a fight at school because he's protecting um a girl in a play, I believe, that they were doing. And so he gets in the fight, and then the kid that he's sitting with is like, "Oh, is that your dad? I bet you my dad could beat up your dad." And you know, every time we see a situation right now, where there could be like a confrontation or whatever, the child his son is right away, because he thinks he's put his dad on a pedestal. He thinks his dad is all this. He thinks his dad is a good guy, a superhero. He thinks he's invincible, you know. So he wants to be just like him. He thinks his dad is a protector, basically. So he wants to be just like him. That's why he was protecting this girl, and he got in this fight. Cole, got anything to say so far? You're so quiet.
No, not really. It's I mean the whole scene where the kid's gonna shoot him and stuff is like, kind of have you on the edge of the seats, like, oh shit, what's gonna happen, you know. So I like the way they did that, and very interesting the story of George Reeves. I never knew that, but yeah, that was very very clever way to get out of it without blowing that Superman isn't real. Of course, the kid might not believe that, anyways. But yeah, he diffused the system this situation pretty well by using reason with the kid, and so um, yeah, he must have been shitting his pants, but kept it cool and calm on the outside at least. But I don't know. So yeah, that's my thoughts so far.
Well, yeah, and shortly after the confrontation with the gun is when, I guess, late in the evening is when he calls Mr. Glass, and he's like, "Okay, you might be right about the accident," and he's like, "So what do I do about this?" Well, go out where there's people and start honing that talent, you know. So I think he goes to like Grand Central Station. I think that's where he goes, and he starts, sensing certain things from certain people. I think one of them was a woman was beating her child.
Yeah.
But
Which supposedly that storyline is part of what led to Split. Apparently, Shyamalan has gone on record saying that could be seen as, I believe, James McAvoy's character as a child.
Okay. And one of the things that I think that was forgot to have been mentioned, which is something that which is kind of jarring for David when he went into the principal's office to speak to the lady about his son, because technically he's not even on the call list. She tells him the story about a boy who, in fact, drowned, and it was in fact him, or something like that. And this is also part of the conversation that he has with Glass, that he actually drowned at one point in time. So, how can I be this person that you think I am when I've got a weakness? And it's later that it comes that it is told to him that every hero, just like every villain, has a weakness. It's like your kryptonite. But it's after Glass actually like has a fuck all this moment in the comic book section at the end of closing time, where dude comes back and rolls his ass forwards a little bit, and then he knocks over some shit on the way, and he pisses him off so much that he actually goes to call the cops, But there is one comic that falls to the floor after that third stunt, and he picks the comic book up and is like, "How much for this?" Mid cock calling. I thought that was kind of interesting, but it's because of this
Yeah.
comic book that reminded him about this. I forget exactly what went on in this comic book, but
Well, the cover of it's something like Century Man or something like that was the title, but
yeah,
it really looks like it looks like it is meant to be a reference to what's going on with David Dunn. And actually, again, I was talking before about how the film foreshadows things. And again, it'd be kind of nice to one of these days go back and look at this kind of with these thoughts in mind. But IMDb lists the claim that this whole scene foreshadows his involvement in the first two. It just he causes a lot of destruction and pisses off the comic book guy, and that's about it. But the third one, he finds something and he's interested in it, and it happens to be a comic that looks like a character similar to Willis's character. So, and I'm like, that's an interesting read on that. I need to go back and watch it, thinking about that.
okay. Well, I think that kind of leads into um, the um, third vision that he sees in Grand Central Station, which apparently there's this janitor in an orange jumpsuit that kind of walks by, and he gets kind of like the revelation of a bad situation where dude comes to a door, asks to come in. The dude's like, "What the fuck?" And he starts to open the door and just walks in, and you see the dude like dead at the bottom of some stairs, and that's the vision, you know. So I think David, in fact, goes and follows this character, and I believe it's raining, and he sees him go into a house, and he follows him inside. Uh, what do y'all think about that scene as we approach it? Tammy, what did you think about the scenario that happened shortly afterwards?
Well, it's starting to show that he's got these other talents, So yeah, he follows the house. You know, he really, you know, he ends up saving the kids. But before he can do anything about, we don't see. I don't remember seeing the father, but
I do.
definitely.
And when he came through
Hmm.
and looked down the basement stairs, he actually saw the father laying there, and that's that's the dude he saw killed in his vision.
Okay, so but he does save the kids, and he's went to go save the mother, and that's when he gets attacked, and then his worst nightmare comes true, the kryptonite. Because when he gets attacked, he flies over the balcony and lands. It would have been fine if he just landed in the pool, but he landed on the cover for the pool, which totally starts to envelop him, and he is basically is drowning. But the kids come to his rescue.
The kids that he saved.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we do see him.
Now,
Go ahead.
well, maybe you're about to say something on the same subject. Go ahead, and then I'll follow up.
Once the kids save him, he does go back in to save the mother, and then we see him have the confrontation with the bad guy. And it sure is a long confrontation.
Right.
I mean, man, it takes a long time for him to choke this guy out. I mean, they put enough holes in the wall and everything.
Oh, there is a scene that I wanted to mention between the son and the father, which was I thought that was kind of cool. The weight scene where he kept lying to him about taking off weights, and finally he put the entire weight system on him, and he was like, by the end of it, it was like 375 pounds or some shit like that.
Right, that was before
Yeah.
he went for the confrontation thing.
Weights.
Followed to do it.
Yeah, he was lifting weights, and his son was supposed to be spotting him, and he put weight on. First, he gets upset. He's like, what would have happened if, but what might happen? By the end of it, he's like, oh wow, okay. Okay, so what I was going to ask with the scene, the rescue scene, yeah. What I was going to ask with the rescue scene, I don't recall if I had this same reaction with my previous feelings. I think I did, but definitely this time around, I thought the way it registered in my brain was that the mother of this family was still alive when she was, freed from the bonds. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But then in the newspaper article, it said that both parents were dead.
Yes.
So
unfortunately, she was actually dead upon arrival. It's just it does lead you to believe that she still is alive. When she's handcuffed there, she's still somewhat breathing.
Yeah.
But I think by the time he's pissing on her is when you realize that she is kind of already past that point.
Okay, so I'm not the only one that saw it that way. Okay.
Yeah, I saw it that way at first too, but after seeing this movie a couple of times, I can see why she wasn't.
I thought at first she was still alive too. Actually, I did until he undid her binding and she fell over, and it was like, well, maybe she's not. So,
but I think it's kind of interesting how shortly after that is when him and the wife kind of, do they have a date like shortly beforehand, or I know they have kind of a date somewhere in there where they're at a restaurant, but I think this is where they actually come together. Oh, that's right. He picks her up and carries her to bed, and the next morning, the sun comes down, sees that he's reading a newspaper, she's making breakfast, and everything seems like it's hunky-dory, and that his parents are back together, and he's like standing there with his mouth agape. And then she goes on to say, if you ever see or talk to that glass, call the police. Meanwhile, his father just kind of nudges the newspaper over and basically is like telling him, hey, look at this. And it's the newspaper article about what he'd done before, and it says hero saves kids, parents die, and he mouths the words, "You were right," you know, and the kid tears up, and he puts his finger to his lips, like shh about it, and pretty much there you go. But I think it's is it around this time that we actually see what exactly happens in the car wreck, or is that before he even or is that while this rescue is going on too? Trying to remember, because I know that it kind of goes and does the flashback of him actually saving his wife, and someone coming over and asking if he's all right. You know,
Right, because Price confronted him about whether he was actually hurt or not in the accident, or if he just said he was to please his wife because she admitted in the therapy that she didn't want to spend the rest of her life with a football player. That was not the life she wanted, to be the wife of a football player. And he knew that.
yep.
So he confronted him about that, if he was really hurt or if he just said he was so that he could quit football.
Well, also thought it was possible that his wife might have actually been pregnant with their kid at the time too. So that's also possible too. Like he put his wife and his child ahead of his sports career, which is admirable if it were that way, you know. So, but in any case,
Anything else anybody wants to throw in up until this point?
I don't think so.
Okay. Let's see.
I believe it's about this time that the art gallery of Mr. Price's is about to happen.
Yes, I believe so.
So I believe he has a huge art gallery of these books that he calls art at the limited gallery that he owns, and David runs into his mother, and she actually seems quite knowledgeable about comic book heroes and villains, because she kind of has a little bit of a revering moment while she's looking at a specific art piece, and he's like, you must be his mother, and she's like, yes. Here, I'll tell him you're here.
Right, and she realizes that David is the one that he's been talking about, David, and tells him, "Oh yes, he's mentioned you several times."
So it's this next part that where is the huge reveal, because
Go ahead.
huh?
I said, "Go ahead." You started talking about it, so go ahead.
Okay. Well, he follows Mr. Price down to, I guess, his area or his office that you would consider is his office, and they begin to talk. And in this conversation, David begins to realize that, um, you know, now that he's coming into his own with these talents, exactly who Mr. Price really is. Um, Especially since there's all these articles that have to do with disasters. And it's not until he actually shakes his hand is when he has these flashbacks of him actually being there when uh, 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 each of these disasters has happened. Um, and um, like he's in this in some airport and he leaves and he sees him walking out of a train the train car 177, and you know the list continues. I mean, he starts to see that he's caused all these disasters, but Mr. Price, he actually says something to the effect that, I've been waiting. I've been waiting this entire time to figure out who I am, and at least we know who you are, David, and I know who I am. Oftentimes, uh, heroes are best friends with their villains, like you and I are, and he
Yeah.
starts walking away.
I don't remember if it was in this scene or an earlier one, but I think it was in this scene where Elijah had a really good line that actually it kind of helps underpin what is motivating him. He's like, do you know what the scariest thing is? To not know your place in this world, to not know why you're here. It's just an awful feeling.
That was a great one.
But yeah, you're right. This is the scene where he reveals that to him, he has found his place. He has found his calling, if you will. And it was to find. He also talks about, being an arch nemesis and how
I believe,
often they were friends. And he's like, just like we are.
well, and the thing is, he's been, in my thoughts and in my mind, he actually was looking for someone to stop him, because no one's been able to stop him yet, and he hasn't hadn't found his nemesis yet.
Yeah, I'm not so sure he
I
was
don't
looking.
necessarily say stop.
No.
Someone to challenge him to be
Yeah, exactly.
his other half, basically the superhero to his supervillain. You can't have a supervillain without a superhero, and he didn't consider himself really a villain. He considered himself a supervillain, but to be a supervillain, you have to have a superhero.
Okay. Well, and I believe that pretty much is that's about when he walks out of there, and then we get the end credits, and the end credits say that basically David Gunn ends up calling the authorities, and they find enough stuff in his articles or whatnot to condemn him to Mr. Glass to prison, and so on and so forth. Kind of like if this was just a one-up movie, you could have just left it at this. If he had not done the other two. Like it kind of explained that Mr. Glass ended up incarcerated in some prison somewhere. It, it didn't really set it up for a sequel. Not to me. I don't know if it did for you guys.
I agree. Like I said, I was not looking for a sequel. I had no idea there had been a sequel until the third one came out. So I was completely shocked. I was like, oh, well, that's awesome because I loved Unbreakable. But it really felt like it was a one and done. So, yeah, I mean, some movies definitely set up, or you hope maybe because it left it kind of like they could be. But this one just kind of felt like they wrapped it up pretty nice, and that was it. Had it been DC or Marvel, you'd expect sequels or something, but it was M. Night Shyamalan, he didn't really do sequels or whatever, and even though it was a superhero movie, it was still way different kind of superhero movie. So, yeah, I was not expecting another movie or two. I was pleasantly surprised when I found out, but totally not expecting it.
Was anybody expecting the ending that we got? Did you think it was gonna go that way, or did anybody think that Bryce actually was the villain?
Like I said, it kind of caught me off guard the first time I saw this, but I really can't remember how. As twists go, I feel like this one was a little milder and a little more earned than a couple of the other ones Shyamalan's done.
Well, I mean, right before he completely reveals it, when he starts talking about it, the way he's talking, you kind of can figure it out. But up until that point, no. Like I said, I figured probably what most people thought that he was like a mentor type dude, like trying to get him to be a superhero, and he was gonna, mentor him because he couldn't physically do stuff himself, so he'd be the brains behind the brawn type thing. Not the oracle behind the back woman, um, not, or birds of prey, So it was definitely a nice shock and like, oh shit, he's the villain and he's been behind everything that's happened to David. Like he's been trying to prove that it was David all this time, and he killed all these Hebrews to prove that you know he is the superhero. So and he definitely wasn't crazy like Joker or anything. I mean, he was in his right mind completely. He completely knew what he was doing. And the whole time, and it was it's disturbing how nonchalant he was.
There, there is a school of thought that I mostly agree with that the Joker is not crazy and knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that too. I mean, I said the Joker because lots of people think he's crazy, but yeah.
Right. Well, he's a total sociopath. There's no question.
He's a nut job, but he might be a nut job that actually still knows what he's doing.
Okay, well, I mean, I've seen this movie more than once, and even though now I do know the ending, I still enjoy it. I still like how the twist comes around and everything. So it's like, even though I know the end, I still enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoy it too. Even though I know it ends this way and it doesn't set up a sequel or anything like that. I mean, I do like this story, and I like it even more because of what you said about the George Reeves Superman. Okay, asking the kid, when the kid shoots at him. I did not know that about this movie, so glad that you had that information. But it's like a modern day superhero movie, you know. It was the one that happened before Birthright, you know. So I think you know which movie I'm talking about. But in any case,
Okay. Does anybody else have anything to mention that we didn't before we start going into production and all that?
No, good.
not that I know.
Okay. So, thoughts on production? Don't everybody
Well,
jump
I
in at
thought the
once.
production was pretty good. It was pretty solid. Uh, uh, I think it was believable about the train accident and the disasters that happened. It was believable on both ends. Their talents, and I think if it wasn't for the words that were said between David and Mr. Glass, I think without the dialogue, you know, of certain things, I don't think we would have had as much of a movie as we would have. I do think both characters are very strong, and I think the story is strong. So, I guess, Jake, what did you think?
I think my understanding of this is that they tried to use kind of a muted color palette with certain things that were hyper uh, enriched, if you will, and with shots and angles and lighting that was supposed to evoke a comic book feel. I believe I've seen that done better in other movies, and I don't know that I really got that feeling from this one. But I appreciate what they were trying to do, and it does have a distinctive look. The movie does have a relatively distinctive look. Um, I will say again, example I'll put forward. The I'm a huge fan, from what I've seen, of Swedish cinema. We've covered Let the Right One In on this channel, and that's a good example. But also in this past week, I watched Triangle of Sadness. These films tend to be very languidly paced. They tend to be very slow, very languidly paced. There are exceptions, but most of the Swedish films I've seen are like that. And I love them, and I don't feel that it's dragging the way I feel this one does. And I don't know if there's a missing element, if maybe Shyamalan himself is the reason why. Maybe he is missing some element of the direction that I couldn't really put my finger on, or if it's the sparing use of music. There is an orchestral score for this, but it's kind of sparing, and there's not a lot of music beyond that. I don't know why I feel a lot of the characters are very downbeat in their performance. Bruce Willis, particularly. That's not always a problem for me. Again, I watch a lot of these films, and and ones that y'all would think are boring and tedious, and I'm like, no, that feels about right. Or again, I still can't believe how much y'all thought that about Gosford Park. To me, that is a much more lively production than this one is. To me, And so I'm really puzzled about that. And so maybe it's just how it struck me personally. But that definitely is part of the production because something there slowed time down for me in this movie. I can't say what it is. Beyond that, it's a pretty solidly made film. Like I said, it may be one of, if not the best film on a production standpoint that Shyamalan has done. It's one of the best. It's just, like I said, I think it's missing some element for me. Uh, I'm not sure how to describe it beyond that. The look of the film, the production design, like the set design, the costume design, Sam Jackson's hair, it's all pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I do have to do a note about. I do have to do a note about costume design. I particularly love Sam Jackson's outfits in this one. The way he has the bright purple, but it's hidden on the inside, and that really purple does make me think of the Joker a little bit. But he has these, the glass cane. Like he really is. He wants to be in a comic book from the way he dresses. Uh, but even with Willis's character, they went with more of a muted kind of army green motif, and so the color coding was pretty cool, and I'll give him that too.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, I enjoyed the production. I thought it was well done, and everything was believable. Not sure what Jacob means about the slowing of time on this film. I do know the slowing of time. Paint drying, Napoleon Dynamite, to name one. Yeah, so like I said,
Napoleon Dynamite was there. It was even slower. Yes.
Gosford Park, like I said, didn't bother me. I mean, I didn't really feel that was super slow or anything. I mean, like I said, I like the movie a lot better. I mean, it's a superhero movie, but I never really felt like it was slow. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's you. I mean, maybe there might be a couple others that I agree. I don't know, but I think that's more of a you thing. But yeah, I thought it was really good, and of course the acting by everybody in it, not just the two main characters, was really well done. It's nice to when you have the background. Sometimes they don't get the um, appreciation that the two main characters get, especially if they're not big names. But yeah, pretty good. The mother and the little boy holding the gun, and like everything. They just did a really good job of showing. To make you feel like it was a real movie, and definitely more of a realistic superhero type movie than other movies. You know, and not really. It wasn't campy at all either. It was a very serious movie. Um, so they just did a good job with it, in my opinion.
Okay. Tammy, what did you think of the production?
Um, I thought the production was really good. It was like we just did Fracture on the other one, so in a way it was kind of like that. You didn't have didn't it was the type of movie that didn't need any like really special effects or CGI or anything like that. It was a more real movie, because it had the drama and it had the things happening that were real instead of um you know, like if you would have actually seen the train derail, there might have been some CGI and stuff in there, but you didn't actually see it actually derail, you know. So that's why I thought that was good. I thought all the the whole background for everything was great. The drawing that he was trying to sell at that to that to the guy out of the gallery. I thought the drawing itself was really a unique looking piece. And when he was I think it was later that his mother was explaining things too about one of the drawings, and um and everybody, their wardrobe was good. It went with everything. So yeah, I thought the production was really good. I thought the storyline was good, and it kept you it kept you wanting to go, wanting like, okay, where's this going? Where's it going? So
Okay. I guess going into the music then now. Correct?
yeah, the only music that I actually remember was the music during the fight when he's taking the guy down,
Yeah.
taking him out. I remember the music during that. For some reason, I totally remember the music during that. I can't say if I really remember it otherwise, but I do remember it during that.
Well, the music is done by James Newton Howard. And
Certainly a good composer.
I guess he had toured with Elton John for a little bit, but he was the composer behind Peter Jackson's King Kong. He was in the music department of The Dark Knight, and he was a composer of M. Night Shymalman's The Village. But I guess he did some of the main themes for that new Willow series. He was a score producer for Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore.
The Raya and the Last Dragon, which was a great score there. And yeah,
Okay, so he was.
Which
he
one did you
was
say? Which dragon movie?
Raya and the Last Dragon.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say, he's definitely no slouch. He's a well-known composer and producer.
Yep.
Yep.
He was a score producer for Batman Begins.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize scores had producers.
Yeah, they do. But I mean, he was also, I believe, the composer as well. I mean, you're looking at, of course, IMDb has made it harder to look this up than it used to be. But
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, I just remembered in that fight sequence because it was very intense. The music during
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Huh. He was a musician, a synth and drum programmer for Space Jam. Interesting.
I'm looking at this, and some of these are movies. We need to do Nightcrawler one of these days. That was that was a messed up movie.
I still have to see that one.
Huh?
I still have to see that one, even though I own it.
That was a good one.
I haven't seen it and I don't own it.
Nah. Anyway, we are. Yeah, he did a lot of Shyamalan stuff. Some of the ones I still need to see, or I haven't seen. I don't know if I need to, like The Village. But anyway, yeah,
I like The Village.
Yeah, good deal.
Nice. I think he did. But Lady in the Water and The Happening are often two that sometimes people
Yeah,
dislike.
right.
I liked Lady in the Water. I didn't care for The Happening.
Hmm.
Wasn't he
But
behind the other one that I like?
huh?
Wasn't he behind that other one that I like?
He did Knock at the Cabin just recently.
No,
So
it was before.
here's one of the more notable ones from television. He scored the first episode and created the theme for ER. So that's pretty cool. But
But
anyway,
wasn't M Night behind that other one that I like? Water. Oh, I can't think of the name
Oh
of it
no,
now.
no, he's not. The Shape of Water. No,
He wasn't
that's
behind that
Guillermo
one.
del Toro.
that's Guillermo del Toro. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I knew it was somebody's name that I knew.
But anyways, so we've kind of got into that because it doesn't really have a soundtrack. It more has a composing music, you know. But let's go into favorite scenes for everyone. Starting with you, Crow. Why don't you tell us what was a favorite scene and a favorite character?
Okay. And before I do that, I just want to mention music. There was music. I don't remember any music. Now again, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but yeah, I just don't really remember any of it, so I don't think it was all that memorable. Um, I don't know if I watched it again today. Might remember a little bit, but uh, so just wanted to point that out. As far as the area scenes go, I mean, there's a few good ones, but I have to mention the kid with the gun, because like I said, it's just kind of have you on your seat, as you see. I mean, you kind of know that Bruce Willis ain't gonna get shot and killed, but still, like you could accidentally shoot his mother or drop the gun and shoot himself. You never know what can happen, or somehow it shoots his father and it does bounce off him and then kills his mother or something. So you never fucking know, right? So it just kind of has you on like, oh shit, what's gonna happen here? I mean, I'm glad no one was shot and killed for the kid. Just to point that out, we're saying it could have gone that way. You never know. So I have to point that out as a really good, great, great movie, but the reveal of Glass being the villain and everything that he did to figure out that David was the superhero to his supervillain and how evil he was and like just nonchalant about it, like it was. I mean, it wasn't like a huge super fight like most superhero ending movies. It was more of a thinker to end. Which I'm a thinker, so as much as I do love action, to watch action, it definitely appealed to that side of me, and I have to say that definitely a favorite scene along with the kid with the gun. So yeah, and of course um, I think they're both pretty close to favorite characters as well. Like I said, as much as I don't usually go for the villain, he's the villain to the end. So I can't take that away from him of being a favorite character. Until the end when he fucking was like, "Oh fuck, you're the bad guy," so he did such a great job. And like I said, it was you didn't see that coming. So yeah, I have to say that. Yeah. Next.
Okay. Heading over to you, Jake. Favorite character and or favorite scenes?
I think I'm going to partially agree with Kroll on the scenes. Like, uh, the overall the scene with the gun kind of wasn't my favorite in some ways, but I do love that we don't shoot our friends, Joseph. I just love that line. So that's probably my favorite line in the movie. And the actual favorite moment might very well be the big reveal. But a couple other parts I want to mention that are close or right up there. One being that probably that first scene where we get a feel for who Glass really is when he's talking to that customer and berating him for getting a thing for his 4-year-old. And then the other part, I think, Dave, you might have been the one who called attention to this earlier. The scene in the comic shop where, right as the guy is calling the fuzz, he holds up, how much for this one? It's just like, so well timed. I was amused by that. And I will have to admit, like, just from what I just said, but also probably anyone know me, obviously, Glass, Price is pretty much, my favorite character in the movie. I always like seeing Sam Jackson play a little bit against type, and he has done that to great effect in a couple of different comic book movies. He was a great villain in Kingsman as well, and even though the character he played was nothing at all like the character from the comics, and as a comics fan, I should have been scandalized and pissed off. He just made the character his own. This one is original, and it is worth pointing out. And I will give the movie this, just generally speaking. It's a comic book movie that is not based on a specific comic, and it is essentially an original story about heroes and villains. And I give it props for that, and I like that I like seeing those every now and then.
Okay. What about you, Tammy? Favorite character and/or favorite scenes?
I guess I'd have to say my favorite scene was the big reveal at the end. It's you just weren't expecting it. It just at least especially the first time I watched it. But um, but I do agree. That the kid with the gun was not necessarily a favorite scene, but it was something totally unexpected. Because you had the scene earlier where he was in the closet and he was looking at the gun, and then he put the gun back, and it's like, I think Jake, you said that they sometimes do that in movies, to make you to throw you off or whatever. But it did. He was like, well, why was he looking at the gun to begin with? And then you get that little bit later that the kid's got the gun, you know. So, favorite character on this one, I think I'd have to say the kid, because he just, he really looks up to his dad. He thinks there's something special there before we see things revealed about him. He thinks that there's something special, and he thinks that his dad is a superhero. He thinks he's a protector. He feels all these things about him that actually end up being true to a point, but he knows it. He feels it before we even get to know that. And I just think that, I, I think that's just really neat, how they portrayed the kid, and how he, idolizes his dad like this. So I'd have to say the kid is my favorite.
Okay. And
Okay, David.
yeah, I guess that for me, trying to think of my favorite scene. I think my favorite scene is the moment when okay, I think my favorite scene is when David actually goes and rescues the girls and and actually does figure out what his kryptonite is. And that morning after, when he shows his kid that you know that he was right, you know, that was kind of were two of my favorites, and I do like the line that Samuel L. Jackson has about the rich father and his son. The comment that this is a form of art, you know, not for him, you know. So the way he said it was a lot better than I just described it. So, but yeah, those are my favorite scenes of this movie. As far as favorite character, I would have to say Mr. Glass is actually my favorite. For some reason, I do like, you know, what kind of villain he is, and in a sense, it's like he was searching for the hero to fight back at him, to challenge him. Yes. So it's like he was searching for the right person to help stop him from doing bad things. And yeah. So that being said, did anyone else have anything else to add? Okay then. What about you, Jake?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to our discussion. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I forget exactly what next week's is right offhand. I forgot to ask Brandon, but I'm
That'll
sure.
be me.
Huh?
That'll be me.
Oh, that'll
And
be
we
you?
will be discussing. Yes, we will be discussing Kyle Newman's comedy Fanboys.
Ah,
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that, but that's
Be
actually
good
something
times.
I think that's something I've heard was good, and
Yeah.
but I might watch it, but I won't be able to get on and tell you guys about it. I can toss in the chat afterwards or something, or maybe pop in after it's done and harass you guys in the chat.
Give it a look and let us know.
How the hell do you get into the chat, anyways?
huh?
Do what?
How do you watch this when you're not on it?
Well, Dave, you're streaming this on YouTube, right?
I'm streaming this onto YouTube. Yes.
All right.
So which channel is it?
This one is streaming onto Inside Movies Galore, ladies and gentlemen.
So I just
So,
go to Inside Movies Galore and I'll be able to watch it.
correct.
Cool. And then I can comment and harass you guys.
Yep. let us. If you have any comments about the movie or any thoughts on our discussion, let us know down in the comments. And I guess we'll go around to our outros. So let's start with you, Tammy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Right now I'm David's fiance, and I go on this channel and another, and we talk about movies, and I get to hear everybody else's thoughts and get to experience new movies that I haven't seen a lot of times. And right now it's the summertime, so I'm enjoying going to car shows with my 1972 Grand Prix.
Alrighty. Heading over to you, Kroll. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Well, I'm Kroll, aka Ron. I'm a marketer. I've called myself a marketer of solutions because that's how I feel the products and services I provide are the solutions to people, whether you want an extra income, you want some fine wine delivered to your house at a fraction of the cost, um, you want homeschool online schooling with real teachers for your children for kindergarten, and a bunch of other things, saving tons of money, making money, things like that. I have my own YouTube, Cole's World of Solutions and motivational. Um, because I think motivation is great and helps people, so I added that in with my YouTube. So I have more solutions right now, but definitely want to have more motivations. I got a really great video on Jim Rohn. If you've never heard of him, look at him up. He's awesome. And yeah, so I'm Cole 1973 on YouTube. If you want to check me out, and I'm on all the social medias as well. Always got short videos, but all my shorts are on YouTube. So if you don't hear enough of me on Sunday or here, you can hear more of me there. So yeah, check out, like and subscribe if you feel like it. There'll be more videos coming. I've got I don't know, 120, 130 videos in a little over a month and a half or so. So kind of paying them out. I slowed down a little bit, but probably pick back up again. They're all shorts, except for the Jim Rohn one, and one other one that's like a minute long. But yeah, they're fun to do. Fun to do. Yeah, that's enough about me. Next.
Alrighty. Heading over to you, Jake. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
I'm Kotobuki Jake. I am here in Central Virginia, where I am the co-host sporadically at this point of Septum Sim versus the World, where we do various projects. We do try to talk about physical media in all of its forms. Right now, for various reasons, we're doing a little bit here and a little bit there. We are working on a long-term project, which we put a teaser trailer up a couple weeks back featuring Septum's cat, Mr. Anderson, which is a great little clip. Tomorrow we'll be doing a discussion on the channel for Cromartie High School, which is a really great, fun anime that I describe as probably one of the handful of anime I've seen that would be right at home on Adult Swim, with things like Venture Brothers and C Lab and those kind of shows. And it's just a fun little show. So we'll have fun talking about that. I also work a lot and basically have a full-time gig to pay the bills. And then every time that I should have a day off, I'm busy working at my job. The company that I co-founded is RVA Homegrown Natives, where we grow native plants. we are building a very large crop that hopefully in the fall will finally give us a little bit of some income, which would be nice. But also just we really do it more because we're just total plant nuts who want to save the planet. So, that's as good a reason as any to go into business. And I do try to make a little bit of time each week for viewing to join these fine folks for our discussions here, and again viewing for other projects like the anime into comics. And I've been working really hard on getting finally caught up fully for the Versus Awards. We'll be taking nominations over the next couple of weeks, I suppose. I need to confirm with Brandon the exact timeline there, but everyone is still encouraged if they think they can put together a solid list of 12 films from last year that they feel strongly for Best Picture, and at least 5 to 6 in as many other categories as they feel free to do. We would like to hear thoughts from fellow film nerds. And we'll look forward to putting that show together for y'all later in the season. And I think that'll do it for me. Yeah.
Alrighty. And my name is David Strege. I'm one of the founding fathers of Inside Movies Galore. So thank you for coming along with us on this fantabulous journey. I appreciate all of you who have supported us and listened to us along the way. And we definitely have more in store for you to listen to. But I also moonlight under a different channel called Delusions of Grandeur, where I also podcast under similar guises. And I believe that we are going to be talking about an animated feature from the 90s called Feliday this Sunday. So I believe it's one of the first animated features that I've suggested for us to watch. And I think it's an interesting one, especially since it's been banned in several countries. So
Which one is that?
It's called Feliday.
Huh.
It's a German animation. And it's on YouTube if you actually want to see it for free. It's not on DVD or Blu-ray or anything like that. It is kind of hard to find, but it's interesting. So that being said, hopefully you guys can stop by and listen to us for a little bit. But I also do some video pickups and some video reviews from time to time. So don't be shy. Let us know what you think of my thoughts and my pickups, and hopefully you get a chance to check out both channels. So like, share, and subscribe, and everyone say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Hey,